Hello and welcome again to this edition of Fight TV. I'm your host, Brad Swanson. We are coming to you from across the street from the Florida Capitol. We are here at the beginning of the Florida 2022 Florida legislative session, joined by Representative Grieco from Miami Beach. Good friend. Welcome back to the program.
It's good to see you. I haven't seen you since the gym this morning.
I know. Well, thank you for that. Let's go ahead and we'll just publish this episode multiple times with that kind of pub. So
this is good.
I was pushing up like 450?
Yeah, something like that.
Right, okay, good. All right. All joking aside, you do work on an amazing bill to fight animal cruelty. What are you working on? Tell us give us a background on it and where does it stand?
Yes, sir. Well, we just found out about 2 minutes ago that our animal abuse bill will be getting a hearing in the Florida House in the Criminal Justice Subcommittee this Wednesday. The bill expands some of the punishments and some of the parameters regarding animal abuse, specifically, unfortunately, sexual abuse on animals. We had an unfortunate case come out of South Florida, and shockingly, these types of activities against animals are only misdemeanors here in Florida. So even though I'm not necessarily the most likely person to file a bill that would increase criminal penalties in most situations, this one makes sense. Last time we spoke, I actually had my beautiful puppy with me, and it's something that's near and dear to my heart, my family's heart, and my staff as well.
Yeah, I can't imagine anybody being opposed to protecting animals that are there to help people. So all right, so after that, what are you working on?
So one of the bills one of my signature bills this year involves psychedelics. Mm-hmm. And before people kind of freak out and they start thinking about hippies in the 60s and 70s, people need to know that the use of psychedelics in mental health treatment goes back to the 40s and 50s.
Right.
And shockingly, even in the great state of Texas, they just passed a bill last year, identical to the one that I filed this year, that would create a mechanism in which we can study the use of psychedelics in the treatment of PTSD and depression, even if we specifically target it toward our veterans here in Florida.
Well, the funny thing is this issue circa 5-6 years ago would have been exotic and still a little crazy, but with California being on the edge, so many of the Journal of American Medicine studies have been out there, both on psychedelics that from the extracts from mushrooms, et cetera, especially for PTSD or people that have had major trauma in their lives. I mean, I happen to have read a little bit about this, and I mean, the science is legitimate out there. So are you just catching Florida law up with where the science is?
Yeah, I mean, listen, in this space, Florida tends to be one of the last states to get involved. I mean, there's only a few states that have jumped on it, and like I said, Texas is one of them, which really gives us an opportunity.
Right, very similar political climate to Florida.
Correct. I mean, we're a purple/red leaning state, but this is not a partisan issue. Folks who need help are folks who need help, regardless as to political party. And with this issue in particular, I personally know several people who have benefited from this.
Right.
Folks who are resistant to traditional treatments for depression, for PTSD. I mean, you can expand it even to addiction issues. And the studies are real. There's plenty of documentaries on this. There's plenty of like you said, legitimate medical journals which have already talked about this, and we're just looking to get caught up and just create a mechanism in which we can study it, even through the university system.
Now, is this the first year you're working on the psychedelic issue, or did you work on it last year as well?
I filed a huge, arguably a ridiculous bill.
I remember. I mean, there was everything from caps, and I mean, there was
right. I mean, it was done for a reason. Right. You file that, then Forbes picks it up, and a bunch of these other folks pick it up, and then it becomes a topic of conversation. And then I've got partners on both sides of the aisle that have read about it, who now are like, wait a second, this is real.
Right.
So I wanted to start the conversation early so I can come in, instead of hitting a grand slam, hitting a single in 2022.
It kind of spikes the intellectual tip jar, because you've got to have that stuff in the conversation. And as we all know, it takes 2 to 3 to 4 years to change Florida law. So this is your year on psychedelics for PTSD, and mostly veterans. Is it mostly veterans that are on the vanguard of the case studies in this world?
No, but I will tell you that the veterans groups are great advocates that allow me to move the needle on both sides of the aisle. They're a logical partner in this. Even folks in the law enforcement community, there's a big difference between what people want to make it sound, which is people growing it in their backyards and doing like a decrim. I'm not there yet, but I am there on the science of it, and it's something that I I will put my name on, and,
Right.
and I'll continue to be an advocate for it.
Well, Representative, you promised to come back mid-session. Tell us how you're doing on these bills.
Always.
All right, and you are the very first person to be on Fi TV with a beer.
Hey.
And I love it. But it's after 4 o'clock somewhere, so that's good. Thank you for coming on.
All right, brother, you got
Appreciate
it.
Thanks.
Cheers.
That's all the time we have for this episode of Fi TV. For more great interviews like this one, make sure you hit us up on our social media feeds. And for now, thanks for tuning in.